Hello and welcome to The Federal. You're watching Off the Beaten Track, a program in which we pick up one issue and go to the depth of it. On the 26th of January, which is India's Republic Day, the district magistrate of a town in about 100 kilometers from New Delhi, along with a state minister of Uttar Pradesh, inaugurated a new park which has been named as Constitution Park. Inside that park, the main center, there is a stone installation where the preamble of India's constitution is, encrypted on it, is written on it. The words socialist, secular, and integrity, these three words are missing from it because when the reporter of a website asked the district magistrate why is it missing, she was told that it's missing because it was not in the original preamble. Now, the original preamble is a very funny thing because the constitution, as we know, keeps getting amended. So are we going to then only stick to the original or the amended parts? I think everybody would agree that the extant constitution as it exists today is our constitution. Nothing of that can be deleted. If it is deleted, it is a blasphemous act and for which there should be proceedings against them. Anyway, that is not within our power. We can just point these issues out. The other issue which I want to draw attention to is the recent order by the Ministry of Home Affairs, which is that the national song Vande Mataram would also be sung along with various occasions. They have come out with a list, long list, which is there, spread over 2 pages, where playing of the national song and mass singing of the national song, these regulations have been issued. It is a conclusion of a long phase of using the Vande Mataram as a political tool, saying that it has been, used as a tool. Its marginalization has been used by the Congress to appease the Muslims. Now, this is actually the beginning. This regulation is actually operationalizes what they have been, intending to do for a long time. That is why it is a very dangerous issue. Now, the reason why I'm talking about these issues, which normally does not get discussed in public life, that is the preamble or the national song or the national anthem, is because we have this fantastic book which has come out, very informative and really very path-breaking. This is a book called We the People of India Decoding a Nation Symbol, which is by TM Krishna, who is a very well-known vocalist in the Karnatic tradition. Besides that, he is also a leading public intellectual of the country, somebody who as a musician has won the top awards in the country that one can think of, and who has actually written this book for Indians at this very critical stage of our republic. So welcome to the program, TM Krishna, and thank you very much for joining me on this program.
Thank you very much for having me, Niraj.
The first question is obviously related to the book, not the lengthy. I'll come back to Bagpat. I will come back to your views about the Ministry of Home Affairs order. But let me first understand about the book, which I have found extremely informative. It has been, as you said, at the launch of the book about a week ago, that it has been, took a long time in coming. You worked on it over several years. But why? Why did the idea of wanting to write a book on these 5 symbols of India, the national flag, the lions, the lion capital, the Satyamev Jayate, our motto, Jana, Gana, the national anthem, and of course the preamble. So these 5 things, which actually you say that symbolizes the nation. Why did you think of writing a book?
I think that we all share a certain feeling, not just discomfort, that feeling at the pit of our stomach many mornings. Just watching what I would call the degradation of even simple humanity, humane values, social ethics, political morality, constitutional morality. It's been just slipping away, and sometimes it's been happening in jumps and leaps, and you see it happening in everyday events. It's not just the political class; they are the instigators, without doubt. They are the ones who have let the tentacles grow incredibly, with the RSS being at the head of this entire kind of an octopus kind of an operation. But the fact is, this poison of discrimination, of marginalization, of just not even feeling empathy for another person because of their caste or their class or their religion has kind of permeated society at large. And it really should trouble us. It should trouble us because I think when we came together in 47 and then more profoundly in 1950, if you ask me, we did say something quite far reaching, set something far reaching for ourselves. I mean, it is an incredible dream that we proposed for ourselves. And to see that we are here deeply bothered me. And I'm a musician. For me, I see the world through sound and through that's how I hear the world, will be a better way to put it. And for me, I started singing the other verses of Jana Gana Mana. And that's something that really shook me. Even now, when I sing that second verse, when he says, Hindu, Bauddha, Sikh, Jain, Parishiko, Mushalmanu, Hindustani, I have tears in my eyes. I choke. I'm not able to sing it. And why? I should be celebrating it because I feel we have lost that capacity. And I think this book came from that very deep place of sadness, profound sadness. And I really felt that these symbols which I chose, in a way, encapsulate what we attempted to give ourselves in 50. They represent different kinds of values, different kinds of dreams, proposals, ambitions. And I just felt that encapsulates what our founding members thought we could become. And hence, I thought, but what important thing about the book is I didn't write it as a historian, but as somebody who's reflecting on the past from today. So the book always is, in a way, a dialogue between the present and the past. So I do describe the intricate happenings of the past, but I'm reflecting it from what I see today. I felt that was very important because that was my entry to this entire dialogue.
You said that you have visited the past, what you are seeing today, the incident which I referred to, the inauguration of the Constitution Park, with the three very important words which were introduced in 1976 through the 42nd Amendment of the Constitution. Problematic, amendment, but among those that were rolled back by the government then, which included today's, Bharatiya Janata Party in its previous avatar, the Bharatiya Janasangh, they did not, remove, many of these amendments, including these words which were inserted then. So if they were inserted, they must continue and be considered to be part of our constitution. There is nothing called the original constitution and the present constitution. At every moment, the constitution as it exists today is the original one.
Absolutely.
One sentence really, struck me, when you are talking about the preamble. I'll begin with that because this entire, you are talking so much about the present and this government right from the beginning, from the day Mr. Modi took oath or rather entered parliament for the first time. He referred to the constitution as India's only holy book and parliament as the temple of democracy. Those are the words that he chose. So we will begin with the constitution, and in the constitution, where else but the preamble. Now you say that according to you in the book, you write that the preamble is a clarifier and interpretive tool, our conscience, a lodestar. Now, I would like to explain to our viewers as to why do you think just that tiny bit of text, why is it so important?
I mean, actually, I think it's one of the most profound texts that you can actually read. Exactly. And I really sometimes feel sad that in schools we have just made it like some by-hearting text that that we read in one side of our civics textbook or whatever. I mean, think of it. The preamble was almost the last thing that the Constituent Assembly did, not the first thing. Okay, as people may presume, though it's the first page. So what was it? Through the entire deliberation of the Constituent Assembly, through all the discussions, debates, and disagreements, and agreements, and negotiations, and even compromises that you see in the Constituent Assembly, they ultimately realized there were certain basic values that all of them shared and were not willing to give up for this country, for the country that they were making. And that entire set of values is encapsulated in the preamble, which is why it is a very important text. Secondly, you can't go to, say, the court. It's not justiciable. You can't go to the court and say, the preamble assures me justice, give me justice. No. So what is it? So you could even ask, why do we need a preamble? Because, for example, I've said in the text, not all constitutions have preamble. Some constitutions in the world have a preamble that really does not say much. Ours says a lot. We give ourselves a lot. In a way, it is also a descriptive. I consider it an emotional text because it is giving ourselves a set of values that we believe is enshrined in the following pages. And it is this set of values that are non-negotiable for us in the way we build this country. Now, I just want to also say one more thing, that secular was not there, socialist was not there. This argument that is happening is, to me, the most silly, stupid argument you could make. Anybody who goes through the Constituent Assembly debates repeatedly see members saying that we are giving ourselves a secular constitution. Many members say it. Secondly, there was a debate in the Constituent Assembly whether the word God should be included in the preamble. Okay, there was a discussion about it. And it was decided that God, there was a vote on it, and it was decided there cannot be God in the preamble. Similarly, now we are secular because our constitution is secular. Our fundamental rights are secular. Everything you see in the fundamental rights recognizes the secularity of this country, recognizes the socialist tenor of this country. In the way we look at the marginalized, and when I say marginalized, another thing, we think cultural marginalized, linguistically marginalized, marginalized through caste, religion. We are looking at all kinds of marginalization in our fundamental rights and constitution. All these people are recognized as people who need to be prioritized. Therefore, the socialist spirit and the socialist endeavor, the secular ethos is embedded in not. So therefore, we are completely missing the point. I think that is one of the reasons why the addition of these words, even though it was at a time which is very problematic, remained because people realize that that's already there in the Constitution. By adding them, you're just reiterating what there is already in the Constitution. So this thing to say the original Constitution, if you want to go that way, the original Constitution is secular. The original Constitution is socialist. Therefore, it is actually a trickery. It is a very evil trickery that is being played on us to almost say, if that word secular was not there in the preamble, we would be a religious state. In their words, a Hindu state, which is utterly false and utterly disturbing that people are propagating this lie by these acts, which are terrible acts, honestly.
Yeah. There's another very, very powerful line in your chapter on the preamble. You say that that the line in the preamble, which starts with the word fraternity, is the most arresting line.
Yes.
And thereby the word integrity, which was introduced in 76, thereby it becomes very important because it is also deleted in that stone installation in Bagpat.
Yes.
Why did you say that the word fraternity? You lay so much of emphasis in your text on fraternity, and you link it to the present.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, actually, fraternity was not there in the original drafts of the preamble, as
Yes.
I've said in the book, right? And of course, some scholars believe that it's Ambedkar's genius that added that
Yes.
word. Okay, so
He,
it's
in
very
fact, wrote
interesting.
that letter to Lal Bahadur
Yes,
Shastri, which you refer in
yeah,
the book.
Rajendra Prasad, to Rajendra Prasad. He
Sorry,
writes to Rajendra Prasad saying that, we are adding this, not there. I don't think it's there in any of the previous texts. We are adding it. I think it's a brilliant addition. Now, because the fact that, you see, fraternity is fraternity is one of these vague things, right? How does one remain as as a larger society together? So fraternity is actually a responsibility. If we tell ourselves we will live as a fraternity, and I think Ambedkar uses that other word, which is probably the most beautiful description of fraternity, which is maitri, which is love in an all encompassing, almost selfless act. So when we say we will be a country where we have fraternity, we are giving a responsibility on us, and the responsibility is that we care, and we care together, we share together, we take care of each other. And the important thing it means is, as those who have more, it's automatic. Those who have more power than the others will recognize their power and act in a manner that gives equity and equality to the rest. So, in a way, fraternity is what binds the entire preamble together. It's fraternity that can give us equality. It is fraternity that can give us justice. It is fraternity that can allow us to be secular. So, this entire preamble, in a way, is centered on that one brilliant line. And that's why I think it is crucial to add fraternity, because he's telling every citizen, you are responsible to cultivate a nature. And that nature is to embrace larger society, which means also go beyond your social, cultural, and political limitations. Truly a philosophical addition to the preamble.
And that is why, dropping or deleting the word integrity from this entire sentence, it reduces, it actually alters the real meaning of the sentence. Because
No,
how can
absolutely.
one.
I mean, yeah, and see, there are two things they're also looking at: dignity of the individual. You're looking at integrity of the
Yes.
nation. There is also that balancing that is happening, right? There is that. So there is that tension that you're trying to balance out, because those are two things that can you say, contradict each other, that can be in at a point of conflict. So the moment you say fraternity, then you're saying that the individual's dignity is from which fraternity is coming, and from which the country remains one. So it's a beautiful net that encapsulates the two very important aspects of nation building, actually.
Well, okay. Coming back to the order of the Home Ministry, it says not only as to where all it is to be sung, Vande Mataram is to be sung, but also more importantly, I think that the entire Vande Mataram is to be sung, which is much beyond the first two paragraphs, which are actually said that this is the part of the national song when it was announced on the 24th of January in 1950 by Dr. Rajendra Prasad at the end of the Constituent Assembly debates, when they did not actually debate over the national anthem. Now, you have an entire chapter on the Jangan Man, or the national anthem, where there is a parallel study of of the Vande Mataram, how it emerged as a major nationalist cry, then how it got seen as something which was not socially inclusive. It was considered to be problematic by people as great as Rabindranath Tagore and Mahatma Gandhi, who advised very senior Congress leaders, including Jawaharlal Nehru, that this is intensely problematic for the Muslims. And you have presented that entire debate at great depth. You also, look at the history of how Jangan Man came to be accepted as a national anthem, something which it's very important to remind this regime that the first
Yes.
nationalist leader to actually move towards declaring the Jan Gan Man as the national anthem was nobody else but Subhash Chandra Bose, the much deified nationalist leaders who's often being presented by the Prime Minister and others within the Sangh Parivar as a replacement for the Congress leaders. That is why his statue has been installed with great fanfare at the other end of what is now Kartavya Path, where the British
Yes,
monarch
yes,
used to be there. So I'm just bringing these into to the context. So Vande Mataram, despite being a great nationalist call, a very stirring slogan, what were the principal problems with it, especially with those paragraphs which are left out by the Congress and then by the Constituent Assembly, but by this present government of India, they are introducing it into the Vande Mataram now.
Okay. It's going to be slightly a long-winded answer, if you don't mind. I want to first
Yes,
offer a few
it has to be.
clarifications. Rajendra Prasad in the Constituent Assembly on 24 January 1950, when he did announce Jana Gana Mana as national anthem, this is what he said about Vande Mataram. He said Vande Mataram would be honored equally and have equal status. He did
That's it.
not declare it as a national
National
song in
song.
the Constituent Assembly that day. Now, when was it referred to as national song? In the Constituent Assembly legislative. So the Constituent Assembly was playing two roles at that time. There was the legislative, which was running the government, and of course the Constituent Assembly, the other one was
Framing the
making our
Constitution.
Now, in the Constituent Assembly legislative, on 25th August 1948, the person that this government and the BJP constantly loves to blame for anything that they do, which is Jawaharlal Nehru, he was the person who said Vande Mataram should continue as, and I quote him, the national song par excellence in India. So here is also an irony that the person who called it the national song was Jawaharlal Nehru and nobody else. But in the Constituent Assembly that made the Constitution, it was not declared national song. So this, I think, this clarification is required. Now,
Okay.
regarding the announcement, there's another clarification I want to make. There seems to be a lot of confusion with the announcement. They have said Vande Mataram has 6 paragraphs. There is a bit of a confusion if you look at the translations by Aurobindo, if you look at scholars like Sabyasachi. It seems that the way you separate the song is very different, probably 4 verses and not 6 verses. So when you say the first 2 verses, I want to clarify. Sabyasachi also says that the first 2 verses is Vande Mataram, Sujalam, Supalam, Alija Sitalam. Then Subrat Jyotsna is first verse. Second verse is Sapta Koti Kanta Kanta. Okay? So there seems to be some confusion here. I want to place that also on record. Now, Vande Mataram, the song. Historically, it is a problematic song that has different roles and different positions at different times. When was it written? It was written anywhere between 1872 and 1875. When I say it was written, what is the it? Scholars all agree that these 2 verses that I now introduced to you, the first 2 verses, second verse, Sapta Koti Kanta Kanta, were written first. No, and probably not for the novel Anand Mat. And they were probably lying with Bankim. Sometime after 75, he starts writing this novel. And then this song becomes longer, he adds more verses, and the song is added to Anand Mat. Now, Anand Mat, though initially even Nehru does not understand what is the problem with the text, he wonders why, is a problematic text. If you read, I don't read Bangla, I wish I did. I read 2 translations of Anand Mat.
Neither do I.
And I have noted down pages in the translation about what these sannyasins were doing.
Yes.
These sannyasins were not only fighting Mir Jafar, they were directly attacking Muslim villages, pillaging, and their comments were absolutely Islamophobic and anti-Muslim. It just has to be said. There's no, I mean, historians have said this is a political text,
Historians have
but
said,
you read,
Rabindranath Tagore also said, made, using different words, he said the same thing.
he said
Gandhi also said the
accidental
same thing.
association, and I don't agree with him. That's what he said. There is not, and in the text, this song is like a cog, an important cog in that entire storytelling. It comes at moments, at initiation moments. So you can't run away from its relationship with Anand. Now, when did this song become important? 1905, 1906, Bengal partition, Vande Mataram becomes important. Now, even at that time, there is it like I've quoted my book, Harivansh Rai Bachchan, speaking about Vande Mataram being sung. He remembers it being sung, and even then, Muslims were uncomfortable with it. So I want to also say that even in 1905, 1906, when it was a very strong part of the anti-partition movement, Aurobindo was using the slogan, Tagore had also embraced it, it was still causing discomfort. Then we jump to 37. When the Muslim League and a lot of Muslims object to this song, because in their eyes they see the Congress propagating three things: this as the national song, Hindustani, which is losing Urdu as the other thing, and the Congress flag trying to become the national flag. These three things are coupled in all discussions that Nehru is having with Jinnah, and there are a lot of letters that go between them. So I want to first say that to think that Vande Mataram is a docile song is absolutely wrong. Now, I also analyze the song as a song. Let me just state it. Vande Mataram, if you sing all the four verses, or you want to call it six verses, whatever,
Yes.
it does not hold as a song. Let me just, as a musician who sees text regularly, I can tell you. There is huge shifts in language usage, in form, in length, and to me that is reflective of the fact that the song went through different reasons and intentions of writing, even by Bankim. The first verse to me is beautiful.
Right.
Sujalam, Shukalam, Malaja Shitalam. It's gorgeous. And even Shubhra Jyotsna, Pulakita Yamini, Pulla Kusumita, Dhrumadala Shobini, Suasini, Sumadhura Bashini, Sukadam, Varadam. It's gorgeous. I have goosebumps when I say that.
Absolutely. Yes.
Beyond,
Listening to you, I am having goosebumps.
now, after that, the song starts slowly stumbling. The second verse is suddenly population of Bengal. It is suddenly the imagery of the land is changing. First is the imagery descriptive, where the mother is there at the very end. The second, the mother is suddenly resisting. There is a certain anger. By the third verse, she transforms into completely the Durga
Goddess.
that we have in mind. Yes.
Durga with 10
And
arms.
therefore, absolutely, there is no way Vande Mataram can be the anthem of India. Let me just say that very clearly.
Yes, exactly. Of the secular India.
It is impossible. Now, let's just contrast this song. And I have said this, even now, you just please look at the people who always ask for Vande Mataram. They ask for many things along with that. I've said this before. It is a cultural ethos that it is propagating, which is why the RSS is constantly banging on it. They are looking at a Hindu majoritarian ethos. They are looking at this idea that everybody else has to be subservient to this idea that is Hindu India, or now the words that's being used is civilizational India, is what they
Exactly.
say. So this entire song is not just a song; it is a huge mechanism within which is built a Hindu majoritarian idea. And I want to say the brilliance of not accepting the entire song, but a part of the song. Just imagine you're on the verge of getting independence. You're trying to create a country, a nation. You're building an exercise where everybody has to be together. And you're saying there is this part of the song which is important historically. There is this part which can be acceptable to everybody. But there is also the other part that is understandably troublesome. How do we find a via media? How do we find a way forward? How do we respect each other in a land that we all agree needs to be secular? I think this is actually very beautiful. All the leaders have to be respected for the conversations. And whether it was both was also having this conversation. Bose was talking to Tagore. Tagore was talking to Nehru. Gandhi was sending in private draft proposals. Everybody, Azad was involved. So this, I think it was
Bose.
actually quite, yes, was brilliant that they came up with this idea of saying we can't lose the song. We understand its historical importance. We also realize problematic. Now, contrast this with Jana Gana Mana. I mean, Jana Gana Mana is India. Let me just put it very simply. It is our country. To think that this man thought of this even before is phenomenal. Some scholars believe that he may have not included the names of the religions, or he may have not even thought of the divine later, because his own Tagore's idea of nation also kept changing. But keeping that aside,
Not all parts of India were named in the poem.
I mean, I think it is the most descriptive idea of India. It's almost, I can visualize the country. It's not just the land, right? And to think that he carried not just the land in that song, he carried the people. The first three words is actually that line fraternity, if you think of it. Jana, the individual. Gana, the collective. Gana, which is the manas. There you have the nation, the collective. You have the individual. Everybody is dignity. That is fraternity. He has encapsulated fraternity in the first three words. Jana Gana Mana Adhinayak. It is absolutely brilliant. What about the emotional landscape of the song? The naming every faith in the song. And he says, finally, the sun will rise behind the eastern hills, which is, by the way, the northeast.
Yes.
Though where he spent a lot of time in Shillong. So the landscape of that song is not static, it is moving, and also white. It profoundly agrees to be, profoundly is perfect for the national anthem. It is also sees the sun rising. It's not a battleground song. It's a song of celebration. It's a song, and there is this part where I write in the book that when the Swaraj flag was first raised, Nehru is supposed to have danced around it. This is that dancing song of Swaraj. This is the dancing song of the Constitution. And so, first of all, there's no King George in this. King George is not Adhinayaka. No. All that is just
all that are stories we have grown up with.
These stories, again, that's all being propagated in order to say that's unsuitable, whereas Vande Mataram is suitable. It's again part of a larger strategy which we should very strongly resist.
No, I fear, with the latest order of the Home Ministry, it keeps on listing out where all the Vande Mataram is to be sung, but it does not lay down where all Jana Gana Mana is going to be laid out. So I fear that over the next few years, we are going to hear lesser and lesser of the Jana Gana Mana, and maybe eventually it is going to be eased out. That is what I see. But in your book, you talked about the Vande Mataram. As a musician, you say that it does not exist as a song. There are problems. It doesn't fit. But there's this extremely evocative part in the book, where you actually take the readers on a virtual word by word walk and notation by notation, walk through Jana Gana Mana. I would request, if you can just the bare outlines of it, if you can actually do it for the people who are watching this program, so that they would be able to.
I don't know whether I can see. I don't know whether I can sing the song sitting down, and I'll be
just explaining the manner in which you explain also, if it can be done.
I've been trying to say this for the last 10 days, that we never see Jana Gana Mana as, we don't learn it as a song, and I think there is a problem. We don't create enough of an emotional relationship with the song. The baggage of it being an anthem that everybody has to by heart, that you learn in school, I think limits our musical relationship with that song. And I think that's a tragedy, actually. What we need to do is tell people what a beautiful song it is. And I can tell you the structure of that melody is stunning. Seems very simple. It seems as if it's very normal. And I'll tell you as a musician, it's not a normal tune. And normally, if I was going to tune something like that, that's a tune. I know what the next line would be, the progression would be. But Tagore is not using usual progressions. He is using very unusual jumps. The most incredible part is also the fact Jaya He or Jaya Ho, whichever we want to sing, does not end as some crescendo screaming at the top of your lungs. It actually comes down and almost settles somewhere. It
Yeah.
settles at what is the Madhyama actually.
Hmm.
Okay. And I think that mellowness that you have in the finishing of every verse is it's a quality of statesmanship. It's a quality of dignity. It is again, you don't need to be screaming out of your lungs to be a confident nation. And I
No.
think it goes against what people are now on this 56 inch or how many ever inches. You don't need to scream. Jaya He, Jaya He, Jaya He, Jaya is telling you that. It is telling you musically, you need to be confident, you need to be self-confident, you need to have dignity, you need to respect. And ta ra ta ra ra re is beautiful. And I was talking about in the book, there's a passage where there's a interpretation to this given to me by a scholar from Sri Lanka, because I discussed
Yes.
also Sri Lankan anthem.
The Sri
And
Lankan anthem. Yeah.
he makes a complaint. He says that their anthem finishes on what I would call the note as the panchama or the fifth. And he says by ending it on the fifth, there's a full stop. But when you end it on the ma, like you do with Janagana Mana, it's a comma, meaning it's going to move forward. The idea of growth, the idea of a renewal is there. And I thought that's a fabulous imagination of how you see melody. So even musically, Janagana Mana is a beautiful song. I think what we need to do is allow children to enjoy the song. We have not allowed children to enjoy the song, celebrate the song, just feel it like you sing any other song. We need that. If there is a counter movement, it has to be things like this, not just academic discussions or political resistance. We need to allow children to enjoy singing Janagana Mana as this beautiful composition. Like I've said in the book, irrespective of whether it became the anthem or not, it is one of Tagore's most brilliant compositions. Simple.
That's right. That's right. And this one point which struck me while you were talking about, the last part about the Jangan Man, that people are made to, mug it up, to memorize it. That is what is done. And possibly, do you think that is also the reason as to why there is very little understanding of what it is when it comes to the other three symbols, the national flag? We have all kind of, memorized as to what each color, what each band symbolizes. Likewise, Satyamev Jayate, we do not, even till we actually look at it, that there was Satyamev Jayate, for instance, it had another part of it towards the end, which is not part of the motto. We don't understand these things. So did you feel that should be a new way of taking these symbols to the people?
Yes, I think as I wrote the book, that's one thing that kept coming to my mind, even me, and I'm not young, I'm 50. And I was thinking, what is my relationship with these symbols, and I was searching for it. I was really searching for it. And I was saying, why? Why is the Ashoka pillar not something that every child, every school student must look at this and say, oh my goodness, what does it mean? Look at those lions. Not the
Yes.
lines that we've now given ourselves on top of the new
On the top
parliament.
of the
But
parliament.
these, because I think if we did that, we'd then be able to have larger discussions on qualities, larger discussions on why. And even Satyameva Jayate, I first was wondering, why would we give ourselves something like this? It is the most abstract statement. Some people may say, completely unreachable kind of things. Come on, yeah. This day in a world, can you really say Satya wins? Look at the corporates in the world. They lie every day. Look at our politicians. But why
Yes.
are we saying this? So there can be a lot of cynicism, right? So these are also platforms. These are also ways to have conversations with our students, with our children, by allowing them to have a relationship with them. The flag, beyond the colors and the faiths, what does it mean? And I keep saying we are a chaturanga, we are not a tiranga. And if you're a chaturanga, then what is that blue? So I really think whether it is material, whether it is visual, whether it is oral, or whether it is textual, we need to find different ways. I feel the preamble should be sung. I sing it in 3 languages now, at least.
Mm-hmm.
I sing it in Malayalam, I sing it in Tamil, I can sing it in Kannada. I'm still figuring out the other languages, but I will. I think the preamble should be sung. I think the emblem should be part of a larger discussion on what it means. One of the things we don't do, for example, in our children, we don't take them to museums. Just think of that. This is the way we run schools. So we have to have, if I may say so as an artist, we need to create an aesthetic relationship with every one of these symbols. From there will be born what you can call patriotism, which is not a vulgar
just
display.
not just thumping nationalism.
Not a vulgar display, but patriotism that celebrates not the borders of our land, but the ethos that we gave, and also respects the fact that it was in 1950. Like, I will tell you, most students do not know that we became a republic in 1950, and that's a tragedy. Yes. Everybody will know 47. You ask any student when we became a republic, they will not know. They will know 26 January, but they will not know which year.
What the day means.
1950. What did it mean to give ourselves a constitution? These emblems and symbols allow us a pathway to have political and social conversations. And I really think we should do it aesthetically.
Well, very well put. And thank you very much, TM Krishna, for this really wonderful book. I must congratulate you for having written such an evocative book, which provided so much of fresh information to me and reminded me of so much that I had forgotten over all these years while just caught in this mad, writing about the kind of politics, hate-filled politics, which has been engulfing India increasingly over the last few decades. Thank you for joining me on this program, and I would once again tell all the viewers that they must get hold of this book. It is going to be a very informative and evocative reading. That's what I can assure them. Thank you very much, TM Krishna, once again.
I have to thank you for inviting me and for having such a nuanced conversation with me. It really, these are the conversations that also give me something. I go back thinking about our conversation, maybe ideas grow. And thank you for the appreciation of the book. Coming from you means a lot to me. Thank you.
Thank you so much.